Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys awesome interviews. And today, it is an honor and privilege to have Mr. John Connolly back on the show. Of course, he is the guitarist of Sevendust, but he also has another band called Projected. So we're going to be talking to him about that. They got a new album that's out right now called Ignite My Insanity. This is a follow-up album to their 2012 album Human. So this isn't new for him. This is still something that he's been doing for a while now. So it comes out July 21st. So John, how's it going, brother?
Everything's good, man. How's things with you? Good?
Doing good, doing great, doing awesome. Just surviving day to day as like everybody else, you know.
I hear you.
So let's jump right into this a little bit, but I want to go back just a little bit before the debut album Human came out back in 2012. How did this come together, the Projected band? Let's talk about that a little bit.
You know, it's kind of been one of those things that have been kind of bubbling under the surface for years. We toured with Creed years ago, and, you know, Scott and myself have just been really, really close friends ever since. And we'd always hang out, and we'd always say, you know, at one point in time, we need to get in the studio, and we need to do something. And I had kind of been discussing doing something, you know, some kind of a side project for the longest time. I'd actually talked at one point about Morgan coming in and playing drums on it. And he actually was set up before we did the record. He was going to come in and he was going to do drums, but scheduling kind of got a little crazy, and he was doing the Call Me No One stuff around the same time that we were going to need to start doing the Projected stuff. So, you know, in light of the fact that Morgan couldn't do it, I said, well, you know, Scott, you and I have been talking about this for years. Why don't we just go ahead and do it? So that's pretty much how it came to be. You know, I mean, it was a bunch of demos that we had, you know, just kind of laying around, stuff that I wanted to kind of sort through and kind of see what the end result would be. I mean, we had no idea what it would end up sounding like. You know, it was just kind of a stab in the dark. And as we were working on it, Tremonti happened to be working on his record as well. And E-Rock was listening to some of the tunes and was like, hey, man, you should let me get in on this. And I was like, all right, come on, let's do this. And that was pretty much it. You know, it was a completely organic kind of like, all right, we got some time, let's go hop in the studio and see what happens. So, you know, there was a plan, but there wasn't really a set plan. The only thing that I knew is in 2012, Sevendust was going to be off in the majority of the year. And that's your window. You know, anytime you take a big break like that, if you've had something that you want to do, you know, whether it's music related or not, those are the times where you know, take a shot and see if you can actually kind of pull it together. And for us, it was, you know, a cool process. And, you know, the end result, I think, surprised us all. And that's why we decided, hey, let's do a follow-up and see what happens.
Now, Ignite My Insanity album, it's a double disc album. These songs that are on it, are they songs that were left over from Human? Or I know they're going to be brand new ones, of course, some of them, but and did you guys want to put out a double disc for the follow-up?
Yeah, there wasn't much left over from Human, to be quite honest with you. Now, that being said, there was one song in particular, 10 Years Gone, that was left over from the Alpha sessions. It was on one of the hard drives I'd used when we made the Alpha record. And that's the song that actually kind of ties those two records together. I think, you know, once we started kind of pulling all the music together, we were sitting at a comfortable number of, you know, 15, 16 songs. And every time I tried to cut something down to get it to where it would, you know, be 11 or 12 songs on a disc, you know, someone would have an issue with me cutting this one. So I was like, all right, well, let me cut this one. And someone would have an issue with me cutting that one. So after a while, I came to realize it was going to be easier to push forward as opposed to trying to tear it back. So we just did, you know what, all the songs belong together, and we just kind of kept on that main topic and that main theme, and 21 ended up being our end number. You know, that was kind of where we landed. But yeah, I mean, it was every intent to keep it all together. We had discussions about halfway through about splitting it up into two different records, but they were made to go together. So, you know, we figured let's just do something that's a little different in today's age. You know, people want songs typically one and two at a time. You know, EPs are really popular, and, you know, doing big album projects is just not something that a lot of people do anymore. But with this, it's a side project. You know, there's not a whole lot of pressure. So we just said, all right, let's think outside the box a little bit. What's the last thing, you know, a band's going to do today? And everyone was like, well, a double album. So we made a double album.
And I mean, you know, not knocking anybody that makes EPs out there, because I know how fans' mind frames are so short with things. But me personally, as a fan and as a love of music, you know, I like the full disc. EPs just kind of give you like a a bite of it, you know, and you're like, huh, why can't you just make a full album? You know what I'm saying? That's just me though.
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, I grew up, as a kid. I mean, it was all about the album. It was about the presentation. I mean, it was everything. It was the art. It was all the stuff that was involved in it. I mean, this album has a pretty extensive art book and all the lyrics and all that good stuff. And for me, it's so much cooler if you can do the entire presentation, not just the audio part of it, but with the visual part too. And with a double record, it gives you a lot to sink your teeth into, especially considering with a side project like this, we don't, we're not on a release a record every year and a half, 2 year kind of schedule,
right,
just because of the schedules of all the other bands that are involved. So,
sure.
It was basically 5 years from disc to disc. We figured, all right, what better way to reward our fans for waiting around and sticking it through and, showing us the support. So it was a cool way for us to, be able to give back as well.
What's impressed you the most about making Ignite My Insanity, John? What's caught your eye about it or impressed you about it the most, man?
I think just following the whole, on the first record, we wanted to try to kind of prove a point. We wanted to, make the best sounding record for the least amount of money possible. We didn't want to spend a fortune and go crazy with the budgets and all that good stuff. And, I think at the end of the day, people would be shocked if they knew how much money we actually put into that record. We were super efficient in the process. And this record is even more that. We followed that same theme. We did, we used studio on the front end and on the back end, but all the stuff in the middle, all the vocals, guitar overdubs, and a lot of the editing and stuff like that, I just did at my house on my spare time. So, instead of running up all kinds of crazy bills and, crazy budgets and all that good stuff, it was kind of cool, just to go home, set up, be with the family, work at my leisure. Which when I'm working, I'm working. I'm not typically a guy who, works 1 or 2 days a week. I mean, if I'm in an album project, I'm going to be in there every day, at least until I blow my voice out. So, which I did a couple times. You get feeling confident with yourself and, you start pushing and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think that's the thing that, that a lot of people probably wouldn't know unless I had actually kind of spelled it out for them. But we did this thing on a shoestring budget. We just paid really, really close attention to detail and made sure that, we kept it realistic. It's difficult when you sit there and you spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars making a record, and then you got to try to figure out how to earn it back, especially in today's age where people want to stream stuff. And, a lot of people are, Spotify users or Apple Music users or whatever. So, technology is not going away. So for us as an artist, it's a little cooler if you can just sit down and figure out how to be as efficient as possible. Because you can make great sounding music without spending a ton of money.
Yeah, a lot of bands are going that way. A lot of them are doing it themselves. It's besides getting a producer to come in, they'll do it on their own time. So I guess the day and age, and I hate to say this, but I guess today the way it is, the producer is kind of getting thrown away. A little bit if you ask me.
Sure. I mean, it's now I take it with a grain of salt. I love the fact that I can kind of step outside the box and I can go and I can make a record like this without having a big budget or a producer or whatever. But I have made 14 records at this point, so you kind of do you do realize what works and what doesn't work. And I've worked with some great producers that have taught me a lot of things. So. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and said, okay, I'm going to figure out how to produce a record. I mean, there was a lot of, time put into it and a lot of producers that helped me along the way. And a lot of producers that probably still will, But, with a project like this, when you're so close and you're so, it's so personal to you, it's kind of easy. It's a super organic band. It's not like there's a lot of overthought. We don't overthink things. We don't redo a lot of things. We don't spend a ton of time on things. We move pretty quickly through the process. And if something's not working, we all know. And we look at each other and go, all right, that song's just not good enough. And we go and we spend a little bit more time with it. But, producers are, it's tough because I think nowadays, with the way people get music and discover bands and stuff, I mean, I still think that there's a need for them. It's just there's not a need for the budgets that a lot of those, A-list producers back in the day would bring in because, you got to make the money back. I mean, it's great to be able to pay someone and have their insight, but you also have to be realistic in what the end result is. And if you can't make money on the project, then it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to bring a producer in.
Right. So, John, are there any songs off this new album that are standing out more to you than any on it possibly?
It changes day by day. It really does. I mean, every time I take a listen to it, I'll find 3 or 4 different songs that I'm kind of gravitate towards at that point in time. I don't know. I've been spending a little bit more time with disc 2. The only problem with a double disc is when you listen to it in order, if you're in the car, you typically don't have enough time to get from the beginning all the way to the end of it.
True, yeah.
So I'm consciously trying to spend a little bit more time on disc 2 than on disc 1. Because, disc 1 will typically get worn out in your normal drive to the grocery store or across town.
True. Now, everybody knows that you're in Sevendust, but now doing your side projects, it's 2012. When you guys have time, does this allow you, John, to grow more as a musician, or has it just been more just a personal growth, of course, for you guys?
I think it's both. I think, when you're forced, first of all, stepping into the lead singer role is not something that, it wasn't like I just woke up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a lead singer. I mean,
right.
Let's call a spade a spade. There was an idea back before Sevendust started that I was going to be the singer for Sevendust. I just wasn't ready.
Mm.
I mean, I just, making a transition over from drums into, playing guitar and singing was something that I needed time with.
Sure.
I needed time to kind of get my feet wet, get my bearings. And, when you become a lead singer, I think part of it is trying to find your voice, trying to find what it is that you do, whether it be differently or as good as you can do it. So for me, it's a huge learning process every time that I, step up to the mic and try to be that front man and try to be that singer. But even on the guitar player level, I mean, we're pushing the envelope on a lot of things. There's a lot more solos, there's some busier sections, some styles of playing that just weren't things that were in my wheelhouse that we threw up into the mix. And, I'm always trying to push the envelope a little bit. It's easy to make the same kind of record and the same kind of songs, but after a while, as a musician or as an artist, you always want to kind of push and kind of get yourself right on the edge of your comfort zone, just on the edge of what's possible, because that's where I think most of the growth comes from.
Now, when the fans start to listen to this album, John, what do you hope that they get from it, man?
Just a cool journey, a cool journey into the mind of someone who's dealing with, their internal voices, the voices in your head, the ones that can steer you, the right way, and sometimes they steer you the wrong way, and just dealing with the fact that we all do it. We all listen to that voice in our head, sometimes voices in our head, and, it's just, it's kind of a therapeutic thing that we're all kind of dealing with that, at some point in our lives, and, it's just the journey through it, and the acceptance of it.
Now, are you guys going to take this out on tour right now, or what do you guys want to do with it for now?
Well, right now, I'm actually out on the road with Sevendust. We're doing the 20th anniversary shows for the first record. Alter Bridge is on tour in Europe until middle of July, and they've got some European commitments in September as well. So it's kind of hard to thread the needle right now just because of the way that the schedules are lining up. But we're going to look at the later part of the year. I know Sevendust is going to be in recording mode, and I'm going to do my best to try to find a window, here or there, a couple weeks here or there, where we can kind of hop out and we can try to do some shows. It's just tough with the different schedules, and the toughest one is the fact that the Alter Bridge and the Tremonti schedule is like a push and pull, and I have one guy from Alter Bridge and one guy from Tremonti. So that's, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that is tricky, and you got to have a little bit of strategy.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of talk about Tremonti and Projected touring together. The problem is Tremonti and Sevendust are on the same album cycle, and, it's like, all right, so when I have a chance to tour Projected, I'm going to be touring Sevendust. So we're going to find time. It's just not really, there's no clear picture as to when that's going to happen. But we'd love to. I mean, we had so much fun doing it. It would be a blast to take it out there on tour just to see what would happen.
Maybe you can bribe Miles and Mark. Say, hey guys, come on, let's do this.
Right. Well, we joke around all the time. We're like, hey, all you got to do is do a / Alter Bridge, Sevendust, Tremonti Projected tour, and we got it covered.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh man, that's funny. Now I know this is kind of a double-edged sword, and I know you like to do stuff digitally and on your own, and that's cool. I like people doing that stuff because you're going out of your realm and out of your box. But do you like the digital era, John, that we're in right now of recording albums and social media? Because social media helps out a lot, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword. What's your take on it, man?
There was a point in time where it was really easy to get depressed over people bootlegging music and streaming and just how close everything has gotten and how free everything has gotten.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of, I guess it really depends on your perspective, because if you focus just on like the sales part of it, yeah, it can get really depressing. But like I was just talking about, back 20 years ago, we'd go make a record, and, it wasn't unheard of for a band to go in the studio and spend, $1 million, $2 million making a record.
Sure. Yeah.
And
easily.
with the computer, I mean, we make music that sounds better for a fraction of what it cost us back in the day. So it is a double-edged sword, because on one hand, no, you're not going to sell as much product, and the world is a lot closer with the Facebook and the Instagram and Twitter and, all that good stuff. But on the flip side, if you're efficient, you don't have to spend a ton of money to make something sound amazing. So it's kind of a win-win. I think I'm probably not, the same as a lot of people, a lot of older folks like me who've been in the business for 20 years. They think, Gene Simmons will say rock is dead. I don't think it's dead. I think it's just a completely different mechanism, the way that we receive and we make music.
Yeah.
That's the way that I look at it. You got to look at it from a positive light, because, we're not going to get any less computers. We're not going to get any less cell phones. You're not going to get any less social media. If anything, the world is going to get closer and closer. So I think it's important for, artists to figure out how to embrace it, figure out a model that actually works within the realms of that. Because, the computer has helped me tremendously. Making records out of my house, I couldn't have done without the computer. It's not possible.
Yeah, and being there with your family. That's a win-win, man.
Oh, yeah. It's very, very cool to be able to sleep in your own bed and see your family every day.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So for you, man, when you look at Projected, you look at all these other bands that are out there, what does Projected bring to the table for music that's not out there right now, possibly?
I don't know. For us, it was just kind of like, doing music without thinking, not getting too, we don't really use a lot of programming and sampling and stuff like that. We're pretty much a straight up rock band, In a lot of ways, I don't think the goal was to try to be different. It was just to try to do what we did on a very, very, simple, organic level. And hopefully that we would have fans that would dig it. It seems like people are into it, I mean, we're basically just a straight up rock band. And, hopefully we sound different enough and we have our own identity enough where people enjoy it. I know we've been compared to this and that and the other thing, and they're all, cool things that people, people equate us to and give us compliments about and all that good stuff. But for us, it's just, just trying to do something just honestly, just organically and the most honest and direct way possible, What
made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you that said that's what I want to do right there?
Kiss Alive 2. First time I saw the inside picture and the back cover of Kiss Alive 2, I was like, that's it. I know it. I hadn't even heard the music. I didn't know what they sounded like. I just saw it. I went, yep, I'll do that. And my mother knew that she was in trouble.
Yeah, my cousin introduced me to Guns N' Roses, and my mom said, why in the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
Now look at me now. I'm a good little boy.
Yep. Good stuff.
Here's $1 million question for you, my brother. If you could work with any musician, dead or alive, or band that's, it's broken up or whatever, or any band right now, who would it be? If you could do it for 2 days, well, who would it be?
Wow, that's a really tough one. David Gilmour. I think David Gilmour would probably edge out just about everyone else. Joe Bonamassa would be another obvious choice.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a really, really sweet guy. That's just such a great dude. But there's something about David Gilmour that's just fascinating to me, because he's not a shredder. He's not a busy guitar player, but there's just a certain quality about his solo style and his singing that I would love to just sit down and just try to absorb as much of that as possible.
Yeah, when he plays, he just puts it out there. Like you said, he don't shred. He's just playing for him, pretty much,
Every note counts.
That's exactly right. What's it mean to you? And I'm sure you still receive this today in Sevendust, but what's it mean to you when you receive an email from a fan prior to the show or after the shows? They tell you that your guys' music has pulled them through a bad experience or gave them inspiration to overcome obstacles, or it's just made them relax in the everyday bullshit that we go through, John. What's that mean to you, man?
It means the world. And I answer a lot of private messages. That's something that I get, several times a week. And it's such a humbling and cool thing to know that something that you enjoy doing, something that you did, let's call it spade a spade. When we first started this, it was for selfish reasons. It was because we wanted to make music for ourselves. We weren't really thinking about selling millions of records or doing whatever, reaching the masses. We were just happy to make music that we didn't hate. And it's such a blessing to know that it touches that many people, you know. In over 20 years, I guess we've got a lot of different music that has touched a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Sevendust has made me appreciate music a lot because I like what you guys bring to the table for it. It's there, you know. It's just straight to your face. I like it. Every chance that I get to check you guys out via festivals, concerts, whatever, I do it. I put down what I'm doing and go check you guys out. So,
well, I appreciate that. Much appreciated. Man.
Yeah, and I'm going to say right now, folks, this is my picks off of the Ignite My Insanity album. Kevin let me get to preview this. I dig it, dude. 6 Feet Below, Rectify, Faith, Heaven Above, Only. I mean, that's on disc 1. Disc 2, I mean, you got Call Me the Devil, Ignite, Better, Inhuman, Hate You Back. I mean, this is fucking awesome. I like how, and plus there's some diversity on here too, which is cool.
It's hard not to, you know, growing up with Sevendust, you know, learning to make music in a band as diverse as Sevendust is, it's kind of just a natural thing, you know. It's kind of one of those things that you just kind of do without really thinking about it.
Right. John, my brother, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy some merchandise, pick up this new album, and plus you guys are on the 20th anniversary tour for Sevendust with the first album. So how can they do that?
Rat Pack Records. Rat Pack's going to be running the ball on this one. You can reach us on Twitter and Facebook. We've got a Facebook page that I'm pretty tied into, and the Rat Pack folks are as well. So that's probably the easiest way.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure. Hey, this is John from Sevendust and Projected, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Please go out and check out Sevendust. If you haven't heard of them, then you're truly missing out on a great band. Plus Projected, go out and pick up Ignite My Insanity. Really great album for Mr. John and the guys from Projected. So thanks, John, so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.